Hey guys, welcome to Talking with Toxic. This week featuring Seb
Hello.
and Boris.
Hey,
Today we're talking about something a little bit more serious. Serious time. Uh, we're
super
talk
serious.
we're talking about I guess kind of like secondhand miniatures and kind of the topic on reselling miniatures, which I guess is still secondhand miniatures, but it's a topic that I know that we've gone over sometimes in the past. We talked about it a couple times way back in Dice Troop days with some Shamehammer stuff. Um, and it's still a thing. We also talked about it with the old OOP stuff as well. But we decided to do another episode on it because there's just so much to talk about. Where should we kind of start off?
You're the one bring this to the table, Boris. Yeah.
I thought one thing I've been seeing is that, as you said, the OOP and where it doesn't really apply. Like a model that's one edition old and now has a slightly different stance is considered OOP. And I understand for some game systems that's different, because they've only had like two releases, like Corvus Belli's original Infinity models. They didn't make many, and they're not really available. So those are OOP. But say like your not Harlequins, a Chaos Space Marine Sorcerer versus one that was made in 2012. Does that count as OOP? Like, when do you apply OOP, and when is fair to verse? When are people just putting it on because you can't currently buy the miniature? Or is that even, does that count if you can't currently buy it, but there's still quite a lot on the market? Like, where does OOP apply? I personally think if I see something that's OOP and it's not 3 or 4 editions old, I'm less likely to, like, I look at it and kind of like, you've just put that on there because it makes you feel better. It doesn't really count. I think it's got to be like a lot more of an old image, but I think that comes down to when I see the OOP stuff, the ones that really excite me are the ones from when I first got into the game in the early 90s.
You
And
kind
so
of expecting
seeing those
Rogue
kind of
Trader,
models,
aren't you, when you see OOP?
or no, not even that, but even like second edition 40k, and like for that OOP stuff and that for me, I'm like, oh, I remember playing with that model when I was a lot younger and painting him up, and first time I got it or first time I saw it on the board and things like that. But since like, and it scales up some of the other models, I'd still say, but like,
My
yeah.
Yeah, my issue isn't necessarily with like the title; it's the price that comes with the title. Like, because I appreciate when someone puts it down, because it's like, oh, that's out of print. There's probably a different model that I can look into. My issue is when it is like, it's like one edition back. There's like really not too many changes. They put OOP on it and then they mark up the price to be more than that in print like one. So the out of print one is the out of print one maybe not even as good, especially not as good when it's a couple editions. Because like the really old stuff, you like it more for its like nostalgic kind of old
yeah.
appeal. You're like, this model looks kind of goofy, but it's cool because it's so old. Whereas
There's
like,
also the collectorability, isn't there, for the properly old stuff?
but like the stuff that's like one edition back, a lot of it looks worse than the current stuff because it's only one edition. It's not old enough to be like, oh man, that's cool because it's old. It's like, man, that one looks crap. The new one looks amazing. Like, buy the new one. But so why are you upping the price on it? I noticed it a lot when I was buying the Dark Elder stuff. Was the Dark Elder Archon and Succubus? They got new models, and the models are very similar, just better stances and slightly better sculpting. But I mean, at this point, sculpting. I did finger quotes. You guys can't see it, but it's like, but some of them were like as expensive or more expensive than the current imprint one, and it's like, if I'm this at this point, this is just stuff that shops failed to sell. It's not a rare collector. It's stuff that you have on your shelves that you can't sell anymore because there's newer models. So I don't want to pay more for that. I should be getting it at a discount more than anything. I'm only going to pay for a out of print model more expensive if it's like a rare model, like a collector's piece, or it's like something really old.
So things like Chaos Dwarfs kind of make sense. Things that aren't like literally aren't available. Things you just can't get anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of make sense. Like Epic and other things like that. But I think the OOP it really is it's a discussion point. I think people have their own personal view on what constitutes it, because again, you say about the Dark Eldar, but you look at the Eldar Harlequins just came out. The Death Jester is just slightly different stance with some actual terrain basing now. He's just crouching down a little bit more.
That's basically
and
the same thing.
Shadow Seer,
yeah.
Yeah, and the Shadow Seer has literally she's got a different option with a gun, and I'm turning into a ghost, so I'm going to put some light on.
but I guarantee you go on eBay in a month's time, and there'll be a bunch of the old ones, like the older ones, up there for the same price, if not a little bit more expensive than the new ones. But But if you have a choice, at the same price, you're going to buy the new ones, because they're probably in plastic, so they're easy to deal with. They're in cool stances and whatnot. But you'll see old metal ones and whatnot popping up on eBay just because they're out of print now, so they're not going to be getting sold on their shelves like they have the new stuff there.
Well, you bring up the metal. How do you guys feel about that? Because a model, like a metal model or a fine cast model or a plastic model of the same thing but different material, how does that make you feel?
I personally am fine with plastics. Like, I know there are people who prefer metal. I was never a huge fan of fine cast, but I generally am happy with. I prefer plastics because it doesn't chip as much.
Oh, the plastic's great for using
taste.
and doing stuff, but I mean, how with the OOP thing though, like if something is no longer exists in metal but is the exact same model, but someone has a metal version of it, how do you feel about them using the OOP for that?
I don't think so, no. Because if you can get it in plastic and it looks essentially the same, I think it should be cheaper, because the plastic one's easier to convert.
Yeah.
Like, you can do more with the plastic one. You're actually more restricted with the metal. I mean, but there are those people out there
Destroy less
who
models
prefer...
and you drop it as well.
Yeah, there are those people out there who prefer the metal one, and good for them.
Yeah, I think it's definitely...
I don't think it should be given OOP.
See, I think it should still be OOP, but be OOP brackets metal, out of print metal. So then this is the metal one. I mean, OOP is out of print. I mean, anything that is technically out of print is OOP. But again, like you're saying, it means different things in a different context. But because I noticed that one as well. Because personally, and this is like something that I've taken criticism for and I've given criticism for, because I'm not necessarily a fan of Finecast, but I definitely was a lot more enthused when they switched their metals to Finecast, because granted, the first batch, I'll admit, was pretty crap, but they kind of got this shit together. But if you look at old metal model of at least Games Workshop one, and then you look at it when they recast them into Finecast, there's so much more detail on the Finecast. It picks up so much more detail. So I definitely think that in that sense, when you have two versions, one's metal that doesn't get printed anymore, but one's like plastic or Finecast that does still get printed, that exact same sculpt, the metal one definitely needs to be cheaper.
Oh, for sure.
Because in my opinion, and again, I don't like to say that because everything is opinion, but Finecast is the better medium in terms of detail, being able to do more stuff with it, like converting, because it's easier to glue plastic to Finecast and all that, and you don't have to do like as much pinning if you want to cut something off. It's easy. So
we're talking about a move from OOP, the OOP to so more rather than out of production, out of metal. Would that be more appropriate?
I mean, you don't really see this too much now because people really don't use metal I mean, they still do, but like even like new companies on the block are like starting to like go like, oh yeah, plastic's the way to go, or resin.
Oh yeah, I mean, Battlefront is in the middle of swapping its range to plastic from their old metal, and their metal ones had terrible detail compared to the new plastic stuff, and their resin stuff. Was it Weird recently did the big jump from
Yep.
all white metal to all plastics, and their plastic models look so much better.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah.
Infinity has stayed white metal, but they've changed the way that the molds are made and the type of metal used. I read somewhere, and so I mean they always get brilliant detail because they've got some kind of crazy Spanish curse, but
Yeah,
it is something that is dying off, and I'm happy to. Like, metal armies they're heavier, they damage easy, they'll damage other models easily,
break easy,
and they
yeah.
chip and and so
The destruction they wrought is so bad. If you drop a metal model over a plastic regiment, oh my god.
and their arms fall
Yeah.
off so easy. Like if you don't pin them, their arms fall off. They're not like beginner friendly. Like they're
Because
really
pinning
not.
doesn't even still how like
Well-
is there a quick easy explanation to pinning? Because
Yeah, you
people talk about pinning, I never really.
you drill a hole in each piece, and then you put a little metal rod inside the hole, like a peg kind of thing.
Man, I still haven't even dealt with the fact that my Hellbrute base doesn't have a hole in it.
Yeah, it's. Oh man, that's really funny. I want to laugh more right now, but.
Seb.
But yeah, because that's basically what pinning was, and it's like really difficult. Mostly because the Games Workshop drill basically isn't even designed to be used on metal. So like, they give you these products that you're like, well, that you should probably pin that, and you're like, your drill isn't designed to be used in metal, and it's oh man. Granted, if you have a Games Workshop like close by, and you can actually go into the store, and you're like, I have this model, help me put it together, like they'll do it for you. But it's oh man, I'm so glad that metal is becoming less and less of a thing because oh fuck that. There's nothing worse than painting up a model, having it look all beautiful, and then it like bumps or terrain is a bitch. Like, if it falls down and like its arm falls off and then it breaks at the joint and then takes half the paint from his chest off or something like that. It's like, now I gotta strip it and start again.
Well, it's just like I pink horror arms are the bane of my life, and I can't even imagine what pink horror arms must have been like. Because they would just be taking each other out constantly and just dropping off.
Yeah, but I think that's pretty much all that we need to talk about on out of print stuff, or is there any more that we want to talk kind of?
I think that pretty much covers it. Like, don't overcharge if your thing's not that old.
Yeah,
There
it
is
has to be a collector.
value to old stuff.
Yeah, it has to be a collector thing. I can see it being more expensive. If it's like an old like Rogue Trader Land Raider or something, new in box, like then yeah, I'll pay more kind of for it.
The construction and the painting definitely are going to have an impact. So it doesn't matter how old something is. If it is completely like caked in impossible to get off stuff, that is going to seriously affect its value.
A lot of the older stuff are like
Yeah.
that as well. Like it's harder to it's almost harder to find, like, because it's kind of weird though when you think about it. It's like, why do more? I guess because the ones that are well painted people keep, because there is a value to it.
Yeah, you do find a lot of old stuff that is particularly badly painted, and I hold my hands up. These guys are far more experienced than I when it comes to painting and stuff, and my painting is not great. But you need to understand your painting quality when you're selling stuff, which kind of segues us very smoothly into the next topic, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say it would be a good one to move on to. The other thing that I've seen coming up a lot, especially I'm on Facebook. Facebook's great. You can join all these groups for second-hand miniatures and miniature groups, what have you. But what I've been seeing quite a lot, and even on eBay and other places, is people saying pro-painted when it's just they've used an airbrush. Now,
It's
I
even
don't
beyond
think
that.
that counts as But the big culprits I've seen have been people who have used an airbrush. Therefore, it is pro-painted, and I'm sure they must have to pay off their airbrush somehow.
Oh, don't get me started on how much
Yeah.
airbrush cost.
It's
Yeah.
like the guy who there's a couple of people who they don't even airbrush well, and it just they come put up as pro paint, and some of them even run painting services, and you just kind of look at the models, and like you put it next to something that's been painted maybe with a coloured undercoat and with brushes, and you look at the two of them beside each other, and sometimes you can get some great effects with the airbrush, and I'm not diminishing airbrush painting, but a lot of the models I'm talking about, you stack them side by side with something that's been painted normally, and they look crap. And these people are saying, like, and the whole phrase of it's pro painted, like, where and does tabletop standards start and pro painted begin? And, like, what defines a pro painter? I honestly think, unless it's been done by either a recognized, well known painter or someone who sells it models through a website as a commission painter, you shouldn't ever use the phrase pro painted with your army. I mean, if they look amazing and stunning, there's always well painted. I think the phrase pro painted should really stick with people who do painting as their big thing. I don't know, that's just my big gripe with it, because
Well,
people, they
definitely.
mark the cost up like by hundreds of dollars.
Yep.
And like you see a model that's someone tried to sell me a Malifaux gang recently after the post we've been putting up an Allies Index, and they wanted nearly $1,000 for about, I think it was 23 models, and they look nice, and they said, oh, it's pro painted, and I spotted all these different imperfections. I'm like, well, if I'm looking at something that I would consider pro painted, I shouldn't, at a glance from a photo, be able to be able to spot imperfections and then go, well, no, those aren't pro painted.
Definitely. I was going to say that the first thing that's important to bring up is the word pro. Pro is a contraction of the word professional.
There we go,
People seem
Seb.
to forget. Dropping knowledge, some lexicon.
Speaking of more British accent when you say it as well.
Okay, so pro is the contraction of the word professional, and that means that you actually get paid. That is money, sterling, pound sterling. You get paid pound sterling to do some kind of job in some kind of way to a quality that is worthy of being paid for. That is what professional means. Is that what you wanted?
Yeah, it was. It was everything I thought it was gonna be. But
Sounded like, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I've sold a lot of Warhammer recently on eBay, and I haven't even put my own stuff as, I don't mark it as pro painted. I don't even put well painted, because that's why I have fucking pictures in there. Like, if I have a picture of it, it speaks for itself. Like, granted, pictures don't show the same quality as in person. One, because a lot of the times a picture will actually take it will actually pick up imperfections in a model that you don't see so much with the human eye. The biggest thing that I have is I do a lot of dry brushing, which to the human eye is very subtle. But sometimes when you take a picture of it, you can see the brush strokes a little bit more. Where you don't actually see that to the human eye. Yeah. But yeah, I sold my Imperial Knight, and I sold my my Valkyrie, well, Vendetta. It had no guns on it, so it was, I don't know. But I sold both of those, and they were both really well painted. And
Do you want to give a bit of a background for your kind of pro-painted comments of yourself?
I guess so. I don't know. I know. I guess for a while I did commissions. I mean, I still have Toxic Painting on Facebook. I haven't done a commission in a while because I don't know, just been busy with other stuff. But for a while, when I wasn't working a full-time job, I did commissions, and
They are beautiful.
I would say successful. It's yeah. So I put up Imperial Knights, and I put up my Vendetta and my Tau as well, which were actually part of a commission that I kind of got scammed on. But we'll talk about that when we get to the scams that are going around in this segment. I put all that up, and I just put Imperial Knight painted, and then I have pictures, and then people can look at the pictures, and then if they think that is, you know, painted to the standards that they want, then they can pay the money that I want from it. Like, this is the hardest part, because for a long time before I did commissions, I was like, I don't need to do commissions. I'll just paint and put it up on eBay. Why wait for someone to commission me? I'll just put it up on eBay. And I think that is something that people do, and it doesn't work for the straight up for the thing of, if someone is paying you to do something, they already want it. They already want it painted. You know what I mean? If you're just throwing stuff out there and hoping that someone will buy it, like it's different. You set the price. It's people like, yeah, I want to get that painted. If people are just browsing eBay and they see something like, oh, that looks cool, oh, that's a lot of money. Like, you know, they're looking for a bargain on eBay.
It is the place for the bargains and the crazy price stuff.
But also talking about airbrushes, I'm kind of all over the place right now. But airbrushes are also a little easier to take pictures of and look like a higher quality from a camera, because it's airbrush. Like, I know, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the whole point of an airbrush. It's smooth, it's clean, it's crisp, but which is good for like a tank or like even like larger models or like base coats. But you still have to have quality handwork to finish the model off, because you can't get an airbrush and paint the details.
Yeah, you're not actually having a proper airbrush or people that use airbrushes, but
like that's what like
the other stuff.
Yeah, but like what Boris was saying is that people are just picking up airbrushes, you know, zip, you know, painting them, and if they don't have the skills to back up the rest of the details, that's where the model will fall down, because you look at the smaller details and you're like, well, yeah, the armor looks beautiful, but all the other stuff doesn't look so great. And it's a lot easier for someone to be like, oh, pro painted, when they have a really nice power sword, you know, like the gradients and stuff, because your eye focuses on that. And if you know, you're like, oh wow, look at that power sword, how'd they do that? I mean, it's strange, because there are a lot of things out there that people are like, oh, pro painted, give me money, and I mean,
I just feel that in recent years, with airbrushes becoming more common, it has led to a rise of what I'd consider tabletop standard suddenly becomes the new pro, and then pros become such a large definition, when I really think it should really be shortened back to, you have tabletop standard and well painted, and then you've got pro above that. Pro shouldn't descend to cover the others. Pro should be really unique, amazing, like really making it look like the work of art, which painting does really need the artistic skill to do, rather than I hit this with an airbrush a couple of times and now I want $150 extra per model.
Or I've just done a particularly good paint job. I'm very proud of myself, but it's still, like you said, there are those different increments. You've got your newbie thick paint stuff. You've got your alright sort of stuff where I kind of just about push myself from the newbie into alright stuff, and then like you said, you got your tabletop standard, which is good enough to show everyone and take down to the shop, and you got well painted as a nice version of that, and then your whole new world with the professional paint jobs.
Yeah. Like, pro painted should really be the, not necessarily golden demon, but to the point where it's like you're winning a painting competition with that stuff, you know, with that caliber, because that's why I don't class my stuff as pro painted, because yes, if someone pays me for a commission, you know, that there's a pro, but they paid me to paint it tabletop standards. You know, to look nice on the tabletop. You put a little bit more extra effort into maybe the sergeants and the HQ, because if you're playing a game, someone comes up to your army, what model are they going to pick up? They're going to pick up the HQs, the sergeants, the special weapons. Put a little bit more detail into those ones, maybe. But, yeah, it's exactly. There's a tabletop standard, which is a little... It's hard to define just what even a tabletop standard is. I like to think of it, it's
three
three
colours.
Of
paint minimum.
Yeah, 3 colours.
And basing. And you've at least painted the base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think... I don't know if this is actually part of it, but I also like to kind of think of it having a little bit of like a wash or something on it that kind of takes it from being a base coat to a more complete.
I've just gone off what most tournaments
Yeah.
require as the minimum tabletop standard is 3 colours and a different colour on the base, or a colour on the base. That's what a tournament wants, so I think that should be like the entry level for tabletop. Because you can do that badly, and you go back into the newish versions, and you can do quite minimalist paint jobs with that quite well. I mean, I agree that there should always be a wash. I love army paint to dip. I dip everything I can. I would, yeah, but I
Need to
think
wash
that
them,
as a
apparently.
base, and then using that as the base for this is tabletop painted to going up to well painted. Like I bought some models which have said this is well painted, and I keep a hold of them. Some of my Kador were painted by somebody else. I bought them secondhand. He said they were well painted, and they're great. They look fantastic. Sadly weren't sealed, so they chip like buggery because they're metal, as we were talking about earlier. But I wouldn't classify them as professionally painted. Like I can spot areas where I've taken a quick brush and improved a few bits where like some of the colours have overlapped in the wrong areas, and like they're just that missed brush stroke, that tiny one that you don't notice at first.
Yeah, well, I picked up my Typhus the other day, and he's like, unfortunately, due to packaging, he came in pieces. But the actual quality of the paint job is, I would say, is somewhere between the tabletop to maybe even the high end of well painted. But it just advertised as Chaos Space Marine Typhus Herod of Nurgle. Just didn't
Well,
go
it's
on
the thing,
about it at all.
This guy didn't even want extra money for the fact they were painted. He actually apologised for it and offered a couple of free rec markers.
Well, that's an important thing to bring up, because sometimes the painting can have a negative effect on the price and stuff. And
Before you
need to
go on
accept that.
there, I just want to touch on, speaking of that, the tabletop standard that Boris mentioned, I have to go back and say that, in that case, I would say that my standard commission would be well painted. Because I go, there's a shade, there's highlights, decent basing. I guess it'd be well painted then. But for my personal thing, like, that is my tabletop, like, to be at that stage.
I mean, everyone's
but yeah.
tabletop can be different as
But yeah.
well. But I just think as a base universal level of tabletop for people to think about, it should be a minimum 3 colours and a base.
Yeah.
Like something on the base.
And even if it's just a painted base, but yeah.
Yeah, even if when I'm rushing, which I basically rush with all my models forever, because I'm never painting on time for things.
Because you have a
That's
million models and 1,000 game systems.
Yeah, and so that's the bare minimum I aim for with everything. And I used to be, I would play with unpainted models, and I'm really, after, especially with Infinity, where they pretty much blanket banned in a lot of events taking unpainted models, because you do need so few of them. I now don't like taking out models that I haven't finished painting, and I've really grown quite averse to it from someone who used to play everything with an unpainted army.
Yeah, I used to hate painting. I fucking hated it. I like playing the game. I like playing 40k. I was like, yep, that's what I want to do. I just want to play the game. I don't want to fucking paint, and I hated it. Everything was just grey. Everything. And then, I know it just changed, and then I started painting. And then when I was playing in tournaments, I never got anywhere because it was all my stuff was grey. So it's like, you don't get any painting points, so you're not gonna get an overall good position, because there's no the 3 colors a base kind of thing. It was grey.
I think everyone hates it a little bit at first. Like, I'm still weaning myself off it, but when we did last year, we did the army building challenge, and I did my first kind of 500 points for my fermenters. By the end of that, a couple of the guys were a quality that made me so happy. Like, they were still very low tabletop standard, nowhere near well painted, but it's just putting that time in that makes it more enjoyable, makes it doable. And it makes me happy thinking that you hated painting. Also, another thing with you not painting, and just to put other stuff, your own commissions and this whole pro painted thing into context as well, is that you spend a lot of money on commissions and pro painted stuff yourself, haven't you?
I spent a lot of money on commissions. Yeah, I love commissions. Like, man, if I didn't have bills and whatnot, I wanted to get more commissions. It's awesome. Like, it's great. I mean, you pay money. Sure, you pay money, but then the time that your stuff is getting paid, and you're like, oh man, it's gonna look so awesome when you get it. And it's something that I've definitely noticed. The higher quality that I paint in, every time I see something else, you put other people's quality up to a higher standard than your own, and that happens with basically any form of creative anything. Like your own harshest critic. But like, yeah, man, commission painting. I went through a lot of blue table painting, and in my opinion, like they are they're not the highest quality, but they're the bar that I hold every other commission painting service to. I've gotten a lot of armies done by them, and just brought armies that they've had, that people haven't picked up or whatever. I think like there's a pro painted standard and then there's a commission painted. So like if you have like, I changed my mind because I said this differently before the show, but if I pay for a commission, I think it should be advertised as commission painted rather than pro painted, unless you're getting like the highest quality standard and you're at that, that you've commissioned that highest quality standard. Because, and this is differently because I mean there's a lot of commission painting places out there now than when I first started getting stuff commissioned. There's all commission. Okay, it's difficult because people do it differently, but in my opinion, when you're doing commission painting, and what I'm about to say accounts for every commission I've done except for Seb. There's a certain time frame that you need to get stuff done by. In all fairness, I painted your stuff really quickly. I just didn't get it to you.
That's very true. And also, you've thrown stuff in.
Yeah,
I'm more than happy.
But there's a certain time frame that you have to paint to, and you have to level yourself. You want to do as best as you can, right? But you also have to paint to a certain level where you're getting your value and people are getting their value. I am very cheap when it comes to my prices. My prices work out that I get $10 an hour, and the reason for that is because that's still more than minimum wage where I live, and I'm more than happy doing something that I love on a at that price. So I had no problem with it. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, okay, so $10 an hour, what kind of quality should I be painting to? And I should have put pictures in the stream. But anyway, so you have to paint to that level, and when you get to that level, you got to be happy with it. Where I see a lot of commission places, they charge a premium, but they are also painting to a very high quality. But a lot of places don't have the speed to get it out, and get it done. And if I continued toxic painting, which someday I want to do, the kind of the slogan that I kind of went by, I never put it out there, but oh fuck, I forgot it now. Yeah, I forgot it. I had it.
Ah, toxic.
Was it I'm poison?
No, it had excellence in it, and it had.
My school motto was all can achieve excellence. Was it that? Did you go to Node Hill?
Yeah, I did. No. I forgot it. It was basically saying like, it was affordable excellence, because it was affordable, and at that standard, like, it's like, to that price, like, yeah, that's a high quality product for the price that you're getting. You're paying me $10 an hour. A lot of commission places, it works out to be more like $20 an hour. And that's the standard that I see. I was painting.
Also, didn't a lot of commissioners do two different standards? They do a more tabletop standard and a more hardcore, like well-painted standard.
Yeah. Where I was like, I'll get your army painted and I'll get it done. Like, because Blue Tail Painting was my inspiration, and they are very good at getting like, this is the army, 2, 3, 4 weeks, depending on the size. There's our standard, done. And I'm like, yep, that's what I want to do. This is my standard. If you like it, you pay me. You get your stuff in that time frame. Done. So yeah, that was my thing. It was that kind of affordable excellence. Like it's a good product. It's very good painting, and compared to a lot of people, like that is a very good a high level, and it's affordable. I've rambled on where I've completely lost the point right now, but yeah, I can get this. I can get it to come back to an actual topic, but closing off the pro standard, I definitely think that there's a pro standard. There's like a commission kind of standard where it's like it's commission painted. I paid someone for this. You take that quality, how you like. Well painted, tabletop, and then bringing it into the next topic below tabletop. Poorly painted stuff can bring the quality the cost of secondhand models down. It's like where do you if you're selling your army, do you put more towards it because it's painted, or do you make it cheaper because it's painted? Like,
if it was me, with my quality, I would definitely go down.
I would probably mark it down as well. Like, I would not expect anywhere near full retail. My stuff is all in the army coded dip too, so it's hard as hell to strip, which makes life even worse. So, like, I wouldn't be charging extra. I would definitely be docking myself. Like your kind of stuff, Toxic, I'd be expecting to pay at least retail price.
Yeah, that's where I put mine at. I go retail because I know eBay is eBay. I'm not a store. Like, if I'm a store, like, this is my price. If you go into a store, that's their price. If you don't like it, you don't buy there. Again, going back to Blue Table Painting, their thing's always been like, we don't do specials as such because we just think having a fair price. They do specials, but like, that's the thing. It's like that we have a fair price. We'll put it up there, and he's like, "Oh, I don't mind if it sits because that's a fair price. Someone will want it eventually. I'm not gonna, undercut my price just to sell it." That's if you're a store. If you're selling on eBay, I want to get it moving. I want my money. The reason why I'm fucking selling it is because I want to buy other stuff. So I get my stuff and I sell it at retail. My painted stuff, I go at retail, and it sells very quickly. If it's not painted, again, if it's assembled, not painted, that's when I'll sell it under retail, because I'm not going to pay full price for an assembled model. Like, because especially Games Workshop stuff, because you get extra bits. If I'm not getting the extra bits, yeah.
I think if the model's not painted well and it's been assembled, and even if you've taken out and you've just taken stuff off the sprue and you've only made a couple of them, you can't want full the full retail price back. And I've seen it quite a bit once again in these groups of people going, "Oh, I've taken out and barely used, therefore I want full retail price." Well, no, you've taken out, you've made the squad, you've chosen their poses, their equipment, their basing. If I want to change anything, I'm going to have to go through and chop everything up. I'm going to have to do a lot of conversions.
It's that time. It's the time and the effort that you got to do, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to if I know you put time and effort making it yourself, but at least then you can structure everything you want yourself, and you're in no way constrained. And that constraint, I think, as well, should affect the price. Like, in terms of like having to rebuild a model because you've got, say, 8 of the tactical marines the way you want, but the special weapon and the heavy weapon are wrong, and you're gonna have to completely rebuild those 2 models, and it throws everything out. Because you basically then going to spend a lot of time making sure you don't damage the parts because they're being glued together.
Well, also, like, for instance, basically, models are almost like cars. They instantly lose value the moment they drive off the lot, unless they are particularly old or if they're particularly well looked after and have special things done to them.
Yep.
So I've got the Toxic Blight Kings, the Putrid Blight Kings here. And if I was to sell this guy, who I'm kind of currently working on, these guys come with so many options, so many other bits on the sprues, that me selling you this one guy with the staff and the mutated hand and that head is not worth the value of him in the box.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? It's just not at all.
Yep.
Because there are 4 or 5, say 6 or 7 different bits that could go to him that are just for him. So if those bits aren't there, he's nowhere near the value.
Yeah.
I also think when doing prices, take into account, I see this a lot, not in GW, but in other game systems, Infinity and other things, that people go, they base the price based off it costs this much retail, and they choose the highest store they can buy the models at. When they know that like the big retailer offers it, and they offer it and sell it for, I've counted this up with one guy where he had removed the packaging, which with Infinity, if you're missing a part and you don't have the little code in the packaging, you can't get replacement parts. And they don't come with extra bits on a lot of the sprues. So you're pretty much screwed if you don't have this in terms of getting a replacement part. And then if they're within $20 of me going down to even the combat company and buying them, just because you've chosen another place to base your prices off, I don't think you're pricing fairly. Especially when people in Australia, there's not that many options for buying models, so people are very aware of the online stores and take into account those online stores. Don't try and be shady, especially like targeting new players. We'll go into scamming, I suppose, after this, but no, when you're pricing things, price them fairly and evenly based off what people can buy them for, because people will turn around to you and snap at you about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and my thing, and this is pretty much just for online places like eBay, the Facebook groups and whatnot. It doesn't relate to, brick and mortar kind of, mom and pop shops kind of thing. Even if it's inbox wrap, it's all wrapped, I'm still not paying full price. I'm still not paying full retail. If I want eBay, because I would just go to Games Workshop. Games Workshop, I got it right here. It's not a winning ticket, but this is, if this was a winning ticket, they would have given me 7 feet of stacked up miniatures for free. And I got this cool Skaven pin. If I'm gonna be paying the premium that Games Workshop does, I'm not gonna go to your eBay store or your eBay sale, because I will just go to Games Workshop and get some free shit. And that the reason why I say that I don't say that to local places is because, well, they have it hard as it is, and if you're spending time there playing games then
the difference here is though, retail stores are fine buying at retail prices, but with second-hand ones, even eBay stores, then no.
Yeah. The only time it really comes into play is, for instance, the re-release of Space Hulk. That all sold out. If someone has a boxed, sealed, untouched thing of that, you can understand that going for its
But that was
price.
a limited run thing.
Yeah, limited run thing, yeah.
It's still a little shady, though. If to buy it just to resell it. I'm gonna buy this... I'm gonna buy this, knowing that someone out there is gonna miss out who does want this and wants to play it. I'm just gonna buy it to make some money later.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
fuck you. I mean, come on, that's kind of shady.
It's very shady. We're moving into shadiness now. It's for instance, did you see last weekend there were Harlequin data cards and dice boxes are for sale on Friday night or even Saturday morning. So well before people got their hands on them, just because they know that they're going to sell out like hotcakes, they're going to bid up and go crazy on them. They were well over the price they were selling them on GW, even on Saturday morning.
But yeah, taking it back to what you said
That's
before, before we move on to the shady stuff, you're saying a limited run stuff, I would be more than willing to pay more money for a used copy of, say, Space Hulk. Someone's brought it, they've played it, they don't like it, they sell it up there, because it is a limited run, because you can't buy it now. If they put the price up, I would be more happy to do that, knowing that they've at least brought it with the intention to play, and not just to gouge the prices up. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. But if they were selling the limited run for the same price that it cost originally, that's not really gouging. But yeah, I see what you're saying. But I think you're getting a little bit... That's specifically ethics behind how things work. Someone could equally buy it originally and then just never get around to it, or never actually want to use it. It could still be sealed and sold.
I don't know. If you buy it and never get around to it, you're thinking... There's still a thought in your mind where you're like, if I don't use it, man, I can still sell it. You don't throw down that much
gift or something.
You don't throw down that much money and be like, yeah, this is no. I don't see it.
Okay.
An unwanted gift. It's not going to be a gift. No. I don't see it. Those things sell out
Alright,
too
fine.
quickly for someone to be like, I'm gonna buy this person a gift. Look what just happens to have gone on sale. Nope.
Okay.
But yeah. But yeah, let's go to the just the downright slimy scumball people that are just trying
Now,
to.
I've had some very bad experiences with scamming on this. I've had so playing Bolt Action a few years ago, CanCon had an American army. I had bought. I'd assembled a heap of the models. Just wasn't feeling the love and the freedom, and so had them up for sale. Put them up in the. It wasn't the buy swap sell group. It was in the actual Australian Bolt Action group. Dude turns around and says he'll take them off me and he'll pay me at CanCon. That's fine. I bring them first day, and he turns around to me and says, "Oh, do you mind if I pay you on the last day of CanCon? Now I'm going to be seeing him all 3 days." So I'm like, "Yeah, fine." He goes, "Oh, you can hold on to the models." I'm like, "Well, I don't really want to bring them back with me and carry them around with me through every game. I'm already holding my Japanese army, plus models for another friend, and all my rule books and like cameras and things for capturing all of CanCon, plus like your food and things, because you don't want to buy food at CanCon. It's very bad for you. You will die." And so I basically turned around and said, "Look, you have it." The event, like he's very active in the group. He knows the event organizer. He seems like a cool dude. I'm like, I'll get the money off him. Last day of CanCon, like I've seen him make other purchases because there was also a big second-hand sale on at that time. I know I had other models going in there, and I'd used my ticket spaces for that to sell other 40k stuff. And so I see him buy some new stuff. So I'm like, oh, he must have the money coming in. I confront him on the third day, and he goes, "I literally don't have any money. I'm sorry. I will have to get back to you on it." And so I just basically, like, I was so tired. I'd had a 3-day event. I'd been out with a bunch of the guys who'd come down, gone out, had a crazy time. I turned around. I'm like, this is something I'll deal with once I've had a proper sleep and I'm not wargaming. So the guy ends up touching base with me again, going, "Look, I'm not going to ever be able to pay you. Instead, I will do a commission army for you." And he showed me some of his painting stuff, and it was top end tabletop average, like tabletop standard, maybe just into well painted with some of it. And he goes, "Why don't you send me," because he'd seen in another group, "I've got this giant collection of nomads from Infinity." He goes, "Oh, why don't you send me those and I'll paint those?" And I'm immediately like, well, no, I didn't bring up the nomads. I'm not going to send you another army now because I know what's going to happen. You're going to run off with that. And I mean, he may have really truly meant it, but for him to bring it up, it felt kind of dodgy, so I decided not to go with that. I've had another guy I sent an army to. I very rarely sell on these things, so I sent him the army with the tracking number. To be fair, I was late getting him the tracking number because I was working shift work, and so
That's right, Boris. Not everyone gives tracking numbers.
yeah. So I shot it to him,
Fuck yourself,
and
Seb.
it was. He basically turned around and said, "Oh, like he came up saying delivered," and he turns around and goes, "I never got it." I'm like, well, I don't know what more I can do. So I'm chasing it up with. I'm going down to the news all the time. I refunded the money because he tried to publicly shame me in the group saying I hadn't sent it. So, like, this is done through one of those Facebook groups. So I apologise. I refunded the money. I kept chasing up. Like, he must have gotten caught somewhere in the postal service. It had my return address on it. I'll get it back. Never find it. Don't talk. The dude's still very active on this group too. He then sold at another event to a mate the exact same army I'd sold him.
It's shocking.
The other guy said got it off him, and they were going to do a trade. He then noticed one of the conversions because he used to always play my army. He went, "Well, no, this is John's. You said you never got it," and he stumbled out with, "Oh no, it turned up just recently, so I feel really bad, so I can't hold on to it. So I'm just trying to get rid of it. I'm going to give this guy the money." And my mate contacted me, and I'm like, "That's not the case at all." So he just took the army and brought it back to me. I've then since sold it on to another friend who was just getting just leaving GW. But yeah, it's like I couldn't chase this guy down to as well. This is another mistake which I think people should be careful of. He didn't use his real name. He used an alias, and there were no public photos of him, so it was really hard for me to find his, like, I didn't have any real way I could chase him up
You can't
when it
trust
came
people
to
who don't use
contacting
their
the
real
post
names.
office.
Atoxic.
Yeah, fuck those people. I have
But yeah, like
a
that's
scam
been
one.
my
What
bad
you're doing?
experiences.
Yeah, my scam one
Yeah.
is more with commission painting and also has buying involved. Was So I get this guy. He's like really interested in doing commission, which it's kind of odd for me because I have people that want to do commissions done, but a lot of being a commission work is having people that want stuff done but they don't want to pay, or at least a lot of people don't understand the time it takes to paint stuff. Even I'm really like quick at painting, but they don't want to pay it. Like you're basically paying someone's wage to paint it. So a lot of commission workers getting emails and sending out the price and people saying I can't afford that or whatever. So I get this guy, I give him the price, and he's like, oh yeah, cool, we'll do it, we'll get it done. And it's happened before, but every time it happens, you're kind of like, oh, okay. Because you kind of expect to have to work on the price. So, I'm like, okay, this is what we'll do. I'll get it brought. Because the way that I get it done is, I take half up front, because that's enough to buy the models. If you're not sending me models, I can buy them. I can get the bits and pieces that I need. Even though I don't charge for paints because I have a lot of them. But it's enough to get me going. And then once I've finished it, that's when I ask for the rest of it, because then I send it to you. I also don't charge for assembly. That's the thing I do for free as well. But anyway, another red flag to me is that he basically pays all up front. In a sense, I get the next day I go online, I have more money in my PayPal account, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. And he has me a message saying more stuff that he wants. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. Keep in mind, at this time I was working full time and I wasn't really looking for commission work, but extra money is extra money. He says that his friend will send the money to him. I'm like, okay, and I understand that. I mean, that makes sense. Like, there's been a lot of times that I brought stuff and people have owed me a solid or whatever, and they've just used their PayPal account. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Just tell me whose name it is. So I get the money to me. So I'm buying, I'm
So
painting.
you have the money.
Yeah, I got the money.
This is, yeah.
I'm. It's enough for me to buy the. It's enough for me to buy the models, and start painting. It's not the full thing though. It's not my profit. So I'm painting and whatever. And this guy's like seeing my other stuff that I have for sale, my other armies and my Dark Angels and some stuff like that. And he's like, I got all this Chaos stuff. You want to trade some Chaos stuff? He's like, I got the Chaos Titan. I'm like, that's a little fishy. But I mean, if he wants to get painted stuff, I know how crazy I was when I had some money for commissions. I was like, just fucking take my money, just give me fucking models. It's plastic crack, like people get like that, so I understand. So he sends me some pictures, and it's just a shit ton of chaos, and I was like, that's a lot of chaos. But he's got me the pictures, so, and it's pretty easy to track pictures now as well. Use like the Google image, and you put the link, and it searches for.
Yes, or you just right click and search the image now if you're in Chrome.
Oh wow. Cool. Yeah, so you can do that, and it brings up every other site that the picture's on or whatever. So I do.
It's a really good tip for checking stuff out. Actually.
So I do that. Well, kinda, because it gets bad. Because I do that, I don't see anything, nothing. So I'm like, interesting. He has like a picture of like a hand and a paper and writing on it of the date. I'm like, okay, it's legit. Then he's like, oh, if you want, I'll put your name on the paper. So he puts toxic. And I was like, oh, cool. I'm still fucking suspicious as hell, though. Mostly...
Wasn't it the same piece of paper he said he had to use it on?
Yeah, it was like the same piece of paper, or... But it was in a different location! Like, it seemed so perfect. So then I took it one step further, and I actually put it through a filter to see if anything had been edited. And it actually did kind of come up like it may have been edited, but it was really hard to tell. like a photoshopped or something. It was still really hard to tell. And I was showing it to everyone I could think of, and they're like, "Yeah, it looks legit." Anyway, a couple of days later, I get a message from someone, and he basically says to me like, "Do you know this guy? He told me he was going to sell me some chaos. He said to send the money to you. You're his friend." And I'm like, I'm a commission painting service. This is a client. He's not my friend. And I said, I think we're both being kind of duped here. So it turns out this is what this guy does. He wants to get a commission done through me. He knows the price that I need to be done, right? He has these pictures of all this chaos stuff, whether it's his stuff that he actually has, whether it's stuff he's scammed from people before, whatever. He has these pretty legit pictures of stuff that there's not enough evidence to not believe it. He then told this guy, he's like, "You want to buy this chaos stuff? This is how much I want for it. Send some money to my friend. This is his PayPal. My PayPal." He says to me, "Sounds good. I want to get some commission painting stuff done. My friend is sending you the money." So I think this is his friend sending me the money. That guy thinks I'm his friend. He's paying for some models. So I think I'm getting the money. The other guy thinks he's paying for it. Meanwhile, this guy's done nothing. So I basically said to the guy, like, I'll contact him if he replies, if it's all a misunderstanding. Because at this point, I'm like, I'll still give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he is selling this chaos stuff, and he's using that money to pay for the commission. Fair enough. I don't get a reply from him. So at this point, I'm like, fuck. A small-time business anywhere, even more so commission painting, you live and die by word of mouth. And if you get a bad reputation, you're fucked. You know? I don't do a lot of commission painting now, but I still don't want, if I have to fall back on it, I still don't want to have it ruined by, a scam or something like that. So I'm like, okay, I'll finish the towel, I'll send it out to you, basically I'm gonna lose out because I'm not getting paid for my work, but I just want to make it right with this guy. I'm like, because I said to him, like, the money's gone. Like, all the money there went into this commission, and anything left over went into keeping me alive. Like, there's no money. I can't send you the money. I can't send you chaos models, but I can give you this towel commission. At this point, because of all the dealings with this, it pushed back the commission time slot. So now because I was doing it during one of my trainings, so I wasn't as busy. Now I'm out of training. Now I'm into working, and I'm tired. And I was like, man, I'm sorry this is taking so long. Like I'm at work, and it's I'm like, I have this Dark Angels army. I painted it up. It's good. It's really nice. It's worth more than what this tower army is. I'll send you half of it. We'll call it good. He's like, yeah, okay. So I send that to him, and he's good. Didn't, no complaints there, and it works out. I end up with the tower army. I sell it, get some money. It all works out, kinda. I still kinda got screwed because I lost, half my Dark Angels, and I just made some cash back on the Tau. But this is my suggestion, and I'm never gonna accept payment from someone that's got a different name unless that person contacts me directly and says, I'm sending you this money, this is what it's for. Because you'll get yourself fucked over.
I remember seeing the photos of that chaos thing you linked, and I think I saw them after you'd already found out that it was a scam.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd seen those same photos dropped in 2 Facebook groups by someone with a different name from the guy you'd mentioned,
mm-hmm.
and he'd like run a game store and was just selling off his back stock.
Yeah.
So
and when you show me those photos, I'm like, that's
Forge World Titan pieces in bags, isn't it, with a piece of paper on top?
Yeah, and there was also other stuff as well.
It was all the chaos stuff.
Yeah.
All the photos of the actual chaos I'd seen somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing that really gets me there is you're screwing over 2 people. You're taking money from one guy, and then you're screwing over a small-time commission painter. Like, if that had went bad, what if that was, at one point, that was my only income? what if you had screwed me over and now I'm out of a job basically because
Out of
you
your house. Or,
yeah because you want some fucking models and not wanting to have to pay for it? Like, what a fucking cunt. Like, okay, bad language, but if you're watching this, you kind of expect it. Not gonna have the best language, but I mean, like, what a tosser. Like, anyone that is into scamming and stuff, like, you're a straight up scumbag. Like, you know, you're ruining the community. Like, you're creating distrust and you're ruining these sites. The Facebook groups, most of the time, it's good. Like, you get some good deals, you know, friendly people, you have a community going, you know, like your buddies, and then you get these, like...
I've bought quite a bit off there.
Yeah.
Like, my Kador army came from a dude who couldn't play War Machine in his area, so I traded him some money and my Ogre army, which I didn't play, because there was nothing I really want to do with that in my area. And we're still Facebook friends and catch up and send each other photos of whenever we're at events or tournaments with the armies.
but this thing, like, the gaming communities are a community, and it's like when, like, all the other shady things that happen in things like people hating on people for playing a certain army, people doing other things. I don't really have a I've been scammed story, but I'm gonna relate this back a little bit to randomly to Magic the Gathering. 'Cause it's the same sort of thing. There's a lot of trading and value differences and stuff. There's a lot of time people will try and, like you said, it's like the trading low and trading high, or like trading low and selling high type things. And
Buy
we're
low,
supposed to be
sell high.
friends. Yeah, buy low, sell high, all that stuff. And it's like we're all supposed to be friends and parts of various different gaming communities, and at least kind of being decent to each other. And value is a very multifaceted and changing thing. But you know in your heart of hearts if you're trying to do someone over.
Yeah.
And that's just not what you should be doing. We should be trying to help each other out and grow our communities and encourage people to play and do these things, and especially with new people and new players.
Yeah,
That's one of my 2 cents. on that.
you
That's
know
another
if you're...
scamming.
I was gonna say, you know, if like it's gonna be a bad trade or whatever, like, you know, Keenan Allen and Vernon Davis for Cordero Patterson. Like, you know if that's gonna be trade rape. Trigger word. But no, I'm kidding. That wasn't a bad trade, Seb. You know it.
No. I know. It didn't work out well for anyone.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, that's completely off topic. What were you gonna say, Boris?
I was just going to go into some of the deals you see. This is mostly focusing on the Facebook groups that, like, people say I'm leaving the hobby or I'm moving on to a different system, what have you, and great set for a new player. And because they do that, and I know I have done this, you mark it down because you want someone new into the hobby to pick it up and get the love out of it that either you have had or you, like, didn't feel for it, but you felt it for, like, say, another army or in another system. And you really want that new player to be happy and have a good starting place. Seeing people who are veteran people, and I see this a lot on the forums. There's one person who I won't name, but he goes out of his way to grab everything at a deal, and then he is either the admin or in a bunch of other groups, and he then on-sells it, but he marks the price up. And he makes a huge amount of money. Well, not really a huge amount of money, but he makes a fair chunk. Like, I've crunched the numbers. I know someone who knows him personally, and he makes this entire side income of buying deals aimed at new players and then selling them for $50 to $100 more in a different group.
Enough to
And
support
has
his own
been called
hobby.
out on it.
Yeah, okay, enough
And
to
he more
support
than
himself.
supports
And-
yeah, like he's supporting all these parts of his lifestyle based off that. I mean, and where's the line where that goes from good trading to and like smart buying and selling to being dodgy? And I think it's when you pick something targeted for a new player is when you're not a new player, and then
When
you
you're
on-sell
taking
it for more.
advantage of the deal that someone's making for someone else, that becomes dodgy. Because
Yeah.
kind of, all right. So confession time, and sadly I don't have pictures of these things anymore. They were on my old computer that died. But when I first became ill and was made medically redundant, I spent a lot of time buying things on eBay, specifically things that were particularly cheap. Never once did I see something that was aimed at beginners or anything like that. So I wasn't kind of swooping things like that. But I ended up spending extraordinary amounts of money building up this collection with the idea of turning it around for a bit more value. Uh, Maybe like taking things from certain sets and putting it with other things, just all sorts of stuff with the idea of making a bit of money. And I will say that depending on how I saw things, some things were put well painted or pro painted. They were not painted by me; they were just how they were. And I was definitely guilty of a lot of OOP stuff. But in the end, I made a serious loss and actually dug myself into a massive hole and wish I'd never done it. So that's my sort of
So
confession.
happy ending.
Yeah, happy ending. See, there was karma in that one.
Yeah, but I think like
That's
what
not something I've learned from that.
But I think like what Boris was saying for like the more the news side of things is specifically for Facebook groups, because you will see posts like getting out of the hobby. If you're looking at getting into this game or whatever, this would be a great collection, for like a new player. It's like that type of thing. You don't really see it too much on eBay because everyone wants a mint on eBay. But yeah, but like those Facebook groups where it is a community.
Like it's things like Divergent stuff, because like people try and sell models from packs and bundles like that for what they would be worth if you were buying them originally. But like Dark Vengeance Cultists and Dark Vengeance Deathwing Terminates have no value compared to buying new actual ones from Games Workshop, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. That wasn't as much what I was pointing at. More what I was pointing at is more people who swoop on and prey on, like the people that, those kind of people that swoop in on deals designed for people getting into the hobby. And I think that you then see like the people going, oh, I was just getting in, can I be second in line? And they're not going to get it. And for someone who's waiting like for a good deal, and they might be like they're like me, where they're a student, and that I have to be really careful now with my hobby purchases. And to if I start a new game system, I'm going to have to sit and wait for those kind of deals to come up, and have people just sniping these things and grabbing them and going in first, and then buying them, and then me seeing them resell it somewhere else, because I'm a member of a bunch of these different groups too, really pisses me off. Like I've had 2 sets that someone bought before I could, and then resold them. And he resold them for $60 more than what they originally were.
See, that's crazy markup, and I was never marking up that much. And I've learned my lesson, just in case. That's because we moved on from.
Yeah. And like this was like a complete army with all the rulebook and things like that. And he then took out the rulebook, took out the tokens and the dice, and then just resold the models. And I felt like and it really pissed me off when, like, I've been like really keen to get that. And then I've also seen these similar kind of things of people, they'll offer to pay just a little bit more to get it first over some newbie who's willing to pay the set price.
Yeah.
And it kind of like, when do you allow bidding and things into it, when you know that, especially when a lot of in these groups, once you be there for a bit, you see these people and get to know these people. Like if I sell things on there anymore, I now have a list of people I just refuse to sell to. I'll just turn around to these guys, even if they're the admins of the group, and just tell them to get fucked. Yeah. Because I don't want to promote that if I'm selling for a newbie.
Yeah. I think if you're like kind of us and you have this kind of mindset, like you have to have a little bit of integrity when you're selling as well. And if you know someone is, sniping this to resell, like don't be afraid to say, no, I have a seller that's new to the game and I want to sell them because, and pass that on. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's just like if someone would say to you, I'll give you $20 more to sell it to me. You say, well, no, I'm going to sell to this person. They were first. You gotta
There's an integrity and a responsibility with gaming and trading and buying and selling and all that stuff. And which is just, at the end of the day, the bottom line is, don't be a jerk. Like, don't try and screw people over. Like, that's the main bottom line.
Yeah. I think I want to kind of move on to something that's another kind of touchy subject, and one that
this is the touchy toxic.
Yeah, it's one that's like a little like, I don't know. Everyone has their own opinion, and it's not so much a thing too much now. It's still there, but like the China Forge stuff, the recasted models that personally, it's I don't have a problem with them in a sense. This is like a really difficult one because I see it and I'm like, man, I understand it, and like
sometimes. Probably preface the fact that they are completely illegal recasts.
Yeah, yeah. It's basically someone in China that has less strict copyright laws gets Games Workshop models or another company's models, casts it, so a recast, and then gets a cheaper resin or whatever, and starts making their own casts, and they sell it for a fraction of the price. Now, I brought from these places. I just brought bits and like stuff like flamers and stuff like that because, man, bits places are expensive. But I've also seen
the context you spent God knows how much on Games Workshop stuff.
Yeah, but it's a thing that I honestly don't have too much of a problem with it. And I can definitely see why you would, because you do have to be, sort of frugal with your money at times. But the issue that why I bring it up, is the people that will buy stuff from it and then sell it on eBay, like not paint it or anything. They'll just sell it on eBay, or they'll have their own website. Like I've seen like websites that are legit websites, but all their product comes from like one of these China Forge sites. And all they do is buy at that discounted China Forge price and then sell it higher. And that's mostly what I wanted to get at. Is if you don't want to buy the real stuff, you want to buy the recast stuff, that's up to you. Like if you want to do it, that's up to you. But like, don't feed into that person that's just that is making profit off, like, so I don't even say someone else's work, because obviously like they're making profit off someone else's work. But like it's like it's already kind of dodgy as it is, and now these people out there that are making it even more dodgy.
Yeah, and make
I remember
making money
back in
on the
my
dodgy.
day. Back in my day, it wasn't China cast. They were all in the former Soviet states,
Yeah,
Poland.
you still see some of
Lithuania,
those
that
too. Yeah.
But the thing at the end of the day is, with that, obviously, like you said, that you make your choice about whether those forges are something that you think are ethical and something you want to do. They're definitely illegal, but obviously you buying from them is not legal necessarily. I'm not sure of the legality for that. But when people start selling them to other people without making them aware of what they are and marking the price up, like they do turn up on eBay a lot. Someone could very innocently buy something on eBay, turn up to a Games Workshop shop or tournament or something. I don't really do tournaments, but like, and be very much told off or not allowed to play because they're turned up with a solid resin thing that shouldn't be solid resin.
Yeah, like your
And
sister's
then
a battle army that's all in resin, and you're like,
Yeah. Yeah, or you go along to a painting day at a shop and they're just like, where'd you get these? And you completely innocently say I bought them on eBay, and you could find yourself in a bit of hot water.
Yeah. Although Games Workshop would probably hang you for saying that you brought it on eBay, even if it was legit.
That's true.
Like, but no, yeah, it's. I mean, I've definitely thought about, because I'm like, man, I could make a killing if I brought stuff from these recasters and then paint them up and sold them. Like, when it's painted, you don't know who made it, if it's forge-rolled or not. I'd make a killing. Not only am I getting a bonus for having it painted, but I also didn't buy it at that price. I didn't do it.
Solid resin postage could be quite an issue.
But if it's forge-rolled stuff, it's already resin.
Is it not but like some of the forge stuff is like solid though, isn't it?
Some of the stuff, but a lot of stuff is still just in the same parts.
Oh, really?
Some of it will be solid,
do.
But some of it they cast the parts. This is the thing that is crazy about it, is that some of the stuff actually makes more sense how they cast it. You're like, oh man, this is so cool. There's not all these fucking parts and bits everywhere. Just bam, 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 good to go.
I will say, I have gotten models from a couple of different China Forge sites, through trades. For my Ultramarines, I had someone offer me something. They were up front and let me know they were recasts, but they were from different companies, and he showed me the different ones. And he also had some genuine Forge World models in there. And one of the places was actually better. It felt like it had more detail. It was a lot crisper in terms of its edges than the Forge World stuff did. And I was kind of like, well, when I said which one I'd pick to buy, I was like, wow, you chose one of the China casts.
Yeah, It happens.
In-
Like some of the stuff is nice. Like it's actually cost pretty well.
Yeah, and then you also have, as we found out as well, definitely going back to Shamehammer again, people doing their own recast in their own crazy bright orange or clear plastics and things, and selling them on eBay. It's also another sketchy area.
Before we touch on that, just kind of going back to like how like the community kind of response from these China casts is as far as I can tell, people in especially in the Games Workshop side honestly don't give a shit because they know that Games Workshop is expensive. I'm not going to touch on their prices because we all got opinions on that, but like so they'll it's almost more of like a thing like, oh cool, you got that cheap, sweet. Whereas my wife, she has buys like these resin dolls, ball jointed dolls, and there's a thing in that community with recasts as well, and that's actually in that community. Like you're almost looked upon in a bad light if you have a doll that's a recast, and it's like the same type of thing. Like the dolls that are from the actual thing, like are premium to buy. Like, oh my god, like worse than Warhammer prices on these dolls. But if you get a recast, you're getting at a fraction of the price, and it's still a really good quality. You get the exact same product. It does the exact same thing, but in like that. Like community that I see more than like the wargaming community is like you're kind of painted as this like evil person. Like if you have like you're kicked off forums, you can't post pictures of your stuff on these forums, you know. And I know like Dana, she's actually sold a recast stuff that she's had, cause she's got real ones and recast ones. Sometimes she sells them, the recast ones, just because she's like, well, what's the point of having it if I can't go to a meetup and bring it with me, if I can't post pictures of the clothes that I've sewed and stuff for it, what's the point? You know, and it's like, but yeah, that's the kind of what I wanted to throw out there. As far as I can see in the wargaming side of things, it looks like people don't really give a shit.
It's a bit weird in the wargaming one as well, because I don't know if any of you guys ever played BattleTech back in the day, but you used to be able to actually buy, there were just basic molds, and you'd make your own ones for certain mechs. And you just buy the mold and you just smash out as many as you could before the mold broke and died. And
that's cool.
It's pretty common to see those being resold. I mean, it's hard as hell to get these models anymore. They're pretty much out of production everywhere in the right scales.
Yeah.
Because it was re-released in a slightly different scale, just to throw everything off. So, I mean, like, if you've still got some of those molds, they can now go for so much money. But it was like, it was a big thing. The company back then would just sell you the mold and you just go through and make it yourself, and they didn't give a shit. Which is probably also what led to their downfall.
Yeah, I was gonna say that like they are willingly doing that. It's the ethical thing is the fact that other companies aren't, and also you wouldn't do it to smaller companies. I'm not saying like I've personally never done a Forge thing, and I'm still unsure if I ever would. But I'm not saying it's more okay to do it at Games Workshop. I'm not saying that,
yeah.
But it's definitely not something you do to a smaller company.
Yeah, that's the thing where I'm thinking with Games Workshop is I still have that sympathy for like, yeah, Games Workshop is a huge company in the scale of wargaming, but in the scale of a company, they're still selling a niche product, and they're still like on that line of like one wrong move and they're gonna fall flat on their faces.
And they're providing the game for us to play.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're like, I want some fucking flamers for my Space Marines. They don't give me that option, so my only option is to go on eBay and buy from a bits company who's going to sell me $6 a flamer? Go fuck yourself. I'll go to a China Forge place and get them for like $1.
That is another point that I wanted to speak about as well. And that's another thing in the whole shady bracket is, like, it's awesome that you can buy all sorts of bits on eBay and various places, but the markup on bits is just insane. Especially when people are just sometimes either just taking models apart, just taking whole sprues apart, and then just don't know, timesing it by 10 and 100 for how much value they can get out of a box, or making something up and then selling the bits. Like, I've got all my future Brightkey bits. Now, personally, I want them for conversions and do stuff with them that I want. But you could find them on eBay for pounds each for like a axe or a hand, and that's just
Yeah.
not what they're worth.
Well, I don't know. It's hard to. This is again. It's another kind of just like I'm torn because the thing is like you can't buy. I don't know if you can now or not, but the Games Workshop ones, I think you can like buy just like plasmas or whatever. They're like Space Marine ones. They have the Space Marine hand on them. They're overpriced, whatever. So like you're like, well, I want to go elsewhere. But to go elsewhere, you need companies that are gonna, well, people that are gonna buy the kits, break it up, and then they still gotta make a profit. And how many bits are actually worth value in a whole kit? Like, obviously the special weapons are gonna get your money, so they need to, you know what I mean? They gotta get their money out of those
Oh,
parts.
definitely.
So I
It's
understand it.
how much markup on
Yeah.
some things.
But then it's like, at the same time, like, Games Workshop just sell fucking bits. Like, bring your bits back where you can just go and be like, I want some flamers, give me a flamer. Like,
Well, you know, they stopped doing their bits, and then they stopped everyone else doing officially doing bits. So the only bits you can get now are eBay and
It just-
dodgy.
piss me off though, because it's like this is, and they need to bring it back because this is a thing that gets me even more. Is that, and we're getting besides the point, but I gotta say this: they're taking their codexes now and they're removing every model that doesn't have a model. Every rules for a character that doesn't have a model, they get rid of it. Like just I mean, you look at the Dark Elder Codex from 5th edition, you look at the one in 6th or 7th edition, and there's like 2 special characters out of like the 5, 6, 7 or whatever that they had, because they don't plan on making a model, so they get rid of it. If you're getting to the point where you're like, we're only making rules for the stuff that we make models for, then if you have a role for a flamer or whatever on this character, then when I buy that guy, give me the bits that I need. I shouldn't have 2 flying hive tyrants that I want to put devourers on them, but I have to make a conversion for it, but then not sell me the bits that I need to make that conversion.
Yeah, they are getting better with putting more bits and more options in each pack now. Like, for instance, the Shadow Seer comes with the new Neuro gun as well as the Striking Cannon. But
They definitely are.
I do
but
what you're saying.
Yeah,
I do see your point there.
it's frustrating. It's like, ugh. But yeah, but anyway, what you're going to say with people making their own casts on eBay with their own materials, whatever they can find around the house, melt it down, put it into a cast, and there you go.
Yeah.
We did one back when we did Shamehammer on Dice Troop, which it's like I want to bring back, but not Dice Troop, the Shamehammer. Because it was fucking, Shamehammer was fucking great. I don't care what you think, but Shamehammer was fucking fun. We had the Tal stealth
This
suits.
is a giant Shamehammer episode.
Yeah,
Talking with
but
Toxic.
it's like the Tal stealth suits. We're wrapping it all up here. We're wrapping it all up. Not only was it an out of print model,
Yeah! Boom!
it was recasted,
Boom!
and it was in like it looked like a butter menthol like cough drop. It was this yellow see-through terribleness, and it was like, yeah, it was. Oh man, it was. And then I had a green one as well. It's like that really weird kind of see-through. It looked like a butter menthol. I don't know like which countries or whatever have that. I know Australia definitely does, but that's what it looked like. It looked like a cough drop.
Coloured Fox's Glacier Mints type things.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
a hard candy
that's
kind
what
of
I
thing,
mean.
like a see-through colored hard candy kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what it looked like. And just recently, I was looking up for the Transcendent Catan, because those things are like a model that's tiny, but actually it's a gargantuan creature, and you can make it like 800 points. So I wanted to paint that up and be like, bam, Seb, 800 points. Suck it. Anyway, I was looking up for just to buy that one bit because I didn't want to buy the whole obelisk or whatever it was called.
Oh, that giant exploding dice thing that looks like shite.
Yeah, I didn't want to buy that whole thing. I just wanted to buy the one guy in the middle because like you can actually use that as a gargantuan creature, and I was like, that's kind of fucking cool. Anyway, end of the story is I couldn't find it, but I could find some, and get this, a recast of with green stuff.
Wow.
Green stuff is not made for casting. It's made for like, extra details, filling in gaps and stuff. Fine detail sculpting. This thing looked terrible.
Maybe making yourself a count as thing from time to time.
It depends what it is. I mean, it's... But
you
like,
can't go too heavily on it. You still need a base of
yeah,
something else.
you need a base of like something, and then you detail with...
Oh, yeah.
This was just based with green stuff. The Transcendent Catan has like all these energy things flying off him. They were basically all non-existent. It was just the really poorly done body, and oh man, I really wish I
So I
had
just
pictures.
imagine
But yeah.
like Mr. Burns when he's had his medical treatment, everyone thinks he's an alien. So just that, without any of the actual energy around
Yeah,
him.
basically. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, why? This is, like, I get it. Like, okay, like what you said, a count as whatever. If I'm playing with my mates and I want to test out one of these things, or if I want to test out 3, so I already have one, and I'm like, let's play with 3. Oh, how are we going to do that? Oh, let's make a fucking green stuff mold. So you're like...
Just seen it!
Yeah, so you're like, well, let's make a fucking green stuff mold. So you crack out some green stuff molds and you play your game. You're like, oh, that was fucking fun. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. But then now you're trying to profit on it. It looks terrible. How much is it at? Is it on eBay?
They're starting at 99p. But wow.
Yeah, look it up.
Yeah, you really need to look up the Transcendental Catan.
Yeah.
Transcendent, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty disgusting.
It's horrible.
Yeah. So that pretty much wraps it up. Is there anything anyone else wants to say?
Don't
Just-
scam newbies.
Yeah, just take some
Or
responsibility.
don't scam anyone in general.
Yeah, don't scam anyone, but like take some responsibility and just be doing what you want to see other people doing in the community. Just being a decent part of it, whether you're selling, painting, buying, trading, whatever it is you're doing, playing. Just try and conduct yourself with some decency. Generally, don't be shady.
Yeah. So, Seb, I have this Chaos Space Marine pack that Games Workshop doesn't sell anymore. OOP. One of it's pro-painted. What do you say? $600?
7 million yen.
I'll put some recast stuff in there if you want.
Only if they come like cough drops.
Cough drop green stuff. But yeah, anyway, that was this episode of Talking with Toxic this week. Joining me has been Seb
Bye.
and Boris.
See you guys.
This has been for AlliesIndex.com. I always fucking say it. It's Allies Index. Check out AlliesIndex.com for more geeky gaming goodness. Once again, I'm Toxic. Have a good one.